What's up, guys? This is Matt Ramsey with the Octave Higher East Voice Studio, coming to you live from South by Southwest 2016. And today we're talking about, if you're feeling discouraged, ways to overcome that. Let's get right into it. Alright guys, so we're here, I'm with my wonderful girlfriend Monica, who's filming this for me, because at South by Southwest there's so many lines and there's so many great musicians playing. It would be a shame to not share part of that waiting experience with you. So we just saw a fantastic show here at the Four Seasons, but we've been catching a lot of music lately, and it really kind of brought to light some of the issues that I think some of my students and perhaps you have been experiencing recently. I've had a lot of students who've been talking about how they're feeling kind of discouraged recently. You know, they're like, man, I just can't get my practice to where I want it to be, or man, I can do it, I can do it at home, but once I get in the studio, I choke, or I can't hit this high note like I can, or just even nailing a new concept, they're having a hard time just getting that. And the first thing that I want to say, I want to talk about a couple different ways to think about this challenge. Okay, for really literal people and analytical people, of which I consider myself one, I think that it's really important to realize that, building on the talk that we had a couple weeks ago about what is muscle memory, struggle is a physiological requirement. If you're not struggling at something, at a new task or a new skill set, then you're not growing. If you were just walking into my studio the first time and you sang like amazingly well, and there was like nothing left to do, then there would be nothing that we would have to improve. And as a result, you wouldn't have to struggle, and maybe later on down the line you would actually encounter like a wall, because you never had to struggle for something, and because you never had to struggle for it, you had no idea how to overcome it. So for those people who are coming into the studio, they've never taken lessons before, or they've never really sung a whole lot before, you have to anticipate that you're going to struggle for some reason. And the reason why that's a physiological requirement is because, basically, if you recall from a couple weeks ago talking about muscle memory, every new skill that you do, you're firing that neural circuit, and every time you do it and do it and do it, you're wrapping in more and more of that myelin, which is a neural insulator which makes those circuits fire faster. So you absolutely have to fail at something in order to get those right circuits to fire, which is where I come in. I'm here to coach you in helping those right circuits to fire. Okay, so now talking about maybe like a more hippy-dippy approach, I think there's a couple different ways you can look at this struggle. I think the first way is you have to accept that singing or being great at anything requires looking at this whole thing as a journey. This is a journey where you have to look at yourself. I'm a musician, my journey, I'm taking these first steps on my journey to becoming a better musician. And so when you look at it as like a journey, rather than just like, this week I really, failed at this, or like I used to hit that high E flat but now I can't, it's like, okay, in a wider sense, looking at the whole timeline, you've got to look at yourself as this is just one step on the journey. And so 1 week isn't as discouraging as like, what is the overall progress? Okay, so everyone can have a bad week, or everyone can have like one bad session, but overall this is one step in a really large journey. The second kind of hippy-dippy approach that I like to look at is accept that you're a musician. This is what you do. This is absolutely a part of being a musician, improving your instrument. So whether you're brand new to voice lessons or you don't even consider yourself a professional musician, think of yourself as a musician. Accept that that's part of your purpose in life, to be a musician, and part of being a musician is improving your instrument and improving your approach to music. The third hippy-dippy approach, and this is maybe the furthest out there, but trust me, I've used all of these, and especially when I would get up super early in the morning to go and play in the BART stations in San Francisco, and really didn't want to, whenever I felt some resistance to something, one of my early mentors told me, you need to create a fake. And a fake, what he meant by a fake was you need to create almost like a fake self. You need to disassociate from your own personal struggle and imagine that somebody else is going through and doing this work. So, Matt's not involved in it, But this other Matt, who's a musician, who's one step on his journey, he practices every single day. So instead of, man, I'm going through this tough time, every single day I struggle with the same note. It's difficult to think of it this way, but try to disassociate from that struggle and thinking, hey, this is just, this is me going through a hard time. Think of it, that's something that Matt does. Matt practices every day. Matt goes to the BART station every day and plays for 2 hours. Whether this guy, me, wants to or not, he does. So that was kind of the idea of having a fake. And believe it or not, this can be really, really helpful. I used this to great effect when I was starting to create contacts in the music industry, and I hadn't actually produced a whole lot of music at that point. But since you have to get your start somewhere, I kind of had to summon like the courage and the chutzpah to get over this, Matt's really scared about contacting this music industry guy. So by creating a fake or disassociating from your own personal struggle and saying, well, this guy is just going to go ahead and send an email to the CEO of that music company, or this guy is going to reach out and talk to Derek Sivers of CD Baby, then all of a sudden you kind of take yourself and your own struggle out of the equation. Like I said, this is probably the hardest one to do, and I would use it sparingly before you become somebody that you're not, but it can be really, really helpful when you're coming up against a struggle. Now, finally, I'd like to tell 2 stories that I think illustrate the idea of music as a journey. The first one, Monica and I were seeing this fantastic group of teens who were playing down on 6th Street the other night, and they were called Charlie Bell, right, babe? Mm-hmm. Okay, so they were called Charlie Bell, and they're a couple teenagers, and they're in a 3-piece band, and they're absolutely crushing it. They're doing great. This is probably their first South by Southwest, but they've already got releases out, and Monica was, saying, well, imagine, if this is how good they are now, imagine if they stick with it. Again, this is part of the journey. Now, it's really easy for teenagers to get frustrated, say the South by doesn't really treat them that well, or say they don't get the recognition that they want from it. It'd be really easy for them to just give up because they're young, they've got their whole lives. But if you stay on that path, imagine how great you can become. Second story, kind of the opposite side in regards to age, is Monica and I saw this fantastic soul artist named Charles Bradley. And Charles Bradley released his first album of 10 songs in 2011 when he was 62 years old. He's now 67. He's finally getting recognition for being a fantastic soul singer, a fantastic songwriter, and it's really been, you can tell, a long journey for him. So regardless of your age, everybody should be struggling to get to that place where they're kind of breaking through. Never stop the struggle, because the struggle is where you grow. Guys, I hope that this helps. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to share more details from my own personal story, but I hope by kind of looking at these 2 artists, you can kind of see how no matter how you look at it, you need to look at music as a journey rather than just an individual day-by-day experience. How do you get there? You just have to look at the long range. Guys, this is Matt Ramsey with Octave Higher East. I hope you have a great week, and happy South by Southwest. Bye.